Here we are on the front of our 20X base camp. We're going to be doing a tutorial on here, walking you through your unit, showing you how a few things operate on here with a few tips and tricks along the way. We also have more videos in our helpful hacks section of our Great American RV YouTube channel. When you get there, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button as well, and tell your friends. We'll start off in the front here. Of course, we have our 12-volt leveling jack here in the front, our little leveler on the front to help us level out our unit. Up and down, light, pretty self-explanatory. On here, we're also going to have our 7-way plug, if we can pull it out here. That's going to transfer all of our lights and turn signals and everything to our trailer from our towing vehicle. We're also going to have a battery charge line from our alternator on the vehicle that will help charge our batteries up while we're traveling as well. We're also lastly going to have that brake control wire that's going to activate the brakes on our trailer whenever we go to stop. That's also where our breakaway switch right here comes in. We have that little cord here at the bottom hooked to this pin. I have a loop on here. We want to hook that to the receiver hitch on our truck, not to the actual hitch we're using here, but the receiver hitch that's mounted to the truck, and not our chains or anything. That way, if anything ever fails on our hitch, this pin pulls out and the 12-volt batteries will send a charge to our brakes and activate our brakes and bring our trailer to a stop if anything ever happens. We're also going to have a storage compartment right here at the top. Open that up, we can have our power cord and stuff in there. Also below all of that, if we pull that cover off, we're going to have our propane tanks right there. We'll have dual tanks with a dual propane regulator. With just a little arrow right here, we decide which tank we want to be our primary. We have both tanks on, and select that primary. It's going to pull from that tank first until it runs dry. When it runs dry, we'll get a red indicator, and then it'll automatically start pulling from this tank right here until it runs dry, of course. If we notice that indicator is red, we can turn that knob to where the arrow is pointing over to this side, and then it will pull from this tank primarily. We can get the other one refilled and replaced. Also under our cover here, we're going to see a little QR code. If we scan that QR code, it'll bring you to the Airstream website with a bunch of how-to videos done by those guys. They do a great job with a lot more in-depth videos on the particular Airstream model. Make sure that we are latched in the front here. Another thing we'll find on here is our rock shields. We can go ahead and loosen these nuts off of here. It is hinged over here on the side to where we can open that up and clean behind there. Our windows are the same way. We have our Phillips head screws right there, and they're all hinged to where we can open those up and clean the glass behind it. Over here we'll see a little solar port if we want to hook a solar panel up there on the side. If we got trees or anything blocking, we can go ahead and put it out in the open and help charge our batteries. Over here, if we look down along our edge here, have a little storage compartment we can put some stuff in. And then we're going to see our sewer hose holder right there and our black and gray tank system right here, which we'll go over right now. So for our sewer port, we have our gray tanks and our black tanks, okay, signified by the color of our valves right here. Our gray tank is going to be like shower and sink water. Our black tank is going to be sewage from our toilet. So the operation for dumping is we have our sewer hose hooked up. We have that ran over to our port if we have one at the campground, or we have it at the dump station. If we are set up at the campground, you can actually leave your gray tank open all the time and just let that water flow out. Generally, sinks and showers are going to fill up kind of quickly, so to keep you from having to go in and out for an extended trip, you can just leave that open. Our black tank is going to be sewage. We want to make sure we're keeping several gallons of water in there. That way the solids that we have in there don't dry up and stick inside of our tank. So if we don't do that, we're going to have a lot of problems. So we need to keep this closed until we are ready to dump. When we are ready to dump that black tank, we go ahead and pull that valve open, let everything start coming out, at which point we'll hook up to our black tank flush. That is going to lead to a jet port on the other side of that tank. Once you turn the water on, it's going to help push those solids over to this side of the tank and let it drain out. Now you want to flush that tank out really good, and when you're done, You have two options. You can either close this valve, fill your tank up with a couple of gallons of water through your black tank flush, or do it through your toilet, whichever one you prefer. But we always want to keep several gallons of water in that black tank and then drop our chemicals in there as well to go ahead and treat anything that might be left in there. Of course, while you're traveling down the road, that water will slosh around in there too. Try to clean the walls and stuff that are of anything that might be stuck on that sidewall. We do have some other tips and tricks for black tank flush in our HAPS Helpful Hacks section you might want to check out. Up above that, we have our 30 amp smart plug. Our cable that we saw in above our propane tanks will hook up right here. We want to plug this in first, then plug it into our port at the campsite. Reduce arcing at this plug right here. We also want to make sure that our AC system is turned off so we don't have any surges to that AC when we're unplugging and plugging in our unit. Over here, we're going to have our black tank flush. We talked about with our sewage tank, when we're flushing out that system, we hook a water hose to here and flush out all the sewage in there to help push it down to that valve. Over to the left, we're gonna have our Suburban furnace. That'll be 12 volt powered and gas to operate that unit and warm the air in there. And we're going to have our fill for our fresh tank in here. We open this up and have a little cap, stick your water hose in and begin to fill that fresh tank. Your fresh tank will be your onboard water storage. If you don't have water or city water connection wherever you're going, you can kick on your water pump and pull water from that to your fixtures on the inside. If you do have a water port where you're going, you're gonna hook a water hose up to the city water connection right here, kick it on, that'll supply water to your fixtures. Over to the right, you're gonna have your outlet for your Suburban water heater right there, and then to the right of that, we'll have our hot and cold shower. We'll go over the operation of our water heater when we get inside. Down below, we're going to have our fresh tank empty right here. That fresh tank we talked about filling, we don't wanna leave that water in there for an extended period of time. We wanna go ahead and open that up and drain the water out so it doesn't become stagnant. Two valves to the side are our low point drains for our unit. We'll use those for winterization and prepare our unit for the winter time. There's more steps for that. We have it in our Helpful Hacks section. Of course, Airstream has videos for it too. We'll have our stabilizers on the rear. We want to manually crank those down after we've leveled our unit from left to right. We drop those down. That way it'll help stabilize our unit. We don't want to put a lot of weight on those because it can bend and break them. So level your unit left to right with stacker blocks and use your ton jack to level it front to back, and then we drop these down to help reduce the movement on our unit. On the back end, of course, we're gonna have our little door back here. Our door opens up there. We can latch it right here to go ahead and keep it open on our Airstream. Another stabilizer there in the rear, 110 outlet there on the side. Of course, we have our steps. Flip them up, pick them up to store them, pull them out. Pretty simple to use. We have our latch for our door right here. We're going to open up and latch our entry door. As we walk to the inside, we'll see all our switches and everything for all of our lights on the interior. As we go into our interior, we'll start with our kitchen area. Do have that gas stove. We'll have to make sure our propane tanks are on outside. We turn our knob to our flame icon right there. We have to push our knob down and then hold down this button right here to light our stovetop. Now we have propane, and it is possible to get air in our propane lines. This happens whenever we store our unit with our tanks turned off, which is perfectly fine. That propane will end up dissipating out of the line. You'll end up with air in it whenever you first turn your propane on. So first thing I tell people to do is turn your propane on, come over to your stove, light your stove. It's going to take probably 30 seconds or so for it to light, but once it does, let it run for about a minute, and then you should have gotten most, if not all, of the air out of your system. We want to do that before we operate things like our furnace and our water heater, so it can reduce the opportunity for those to go into a fault. So always bleed your air out of your lines there at your stove. You have a little 110 outlet right here on the side, USB port. And then of course our sink down here below. Just your standard storage in here. And down under our bed, of course, we can see our table. We have our option where we can go ahead and move all this stuff out the way, and we can get the higher legs to be able to have a higher table, or remove all this to where we have straight access to our back door. Up above that, we're going to have our AC up here. We have high cool, low cool, high fan, low fan. Our fan operation is going to be just for circulating air in our unit. It's not going to cool it. Okay, our cool operation will actually cool the air. We can adjust our thermostat right here. And then we're also going to have low heat on here as well as off. Okay, so our low heat is going to be if we have an actual heating element in our unit. Not all of them come with it. So if you turn on the low heat and you don't have heat, well, you don't have a heating element, right? So that's going to be electric heat on that AC if that option is available. Over to the left, we're going to have our thermostat for our furnace, and that is going to operate pretty easily. We have our cold and warmer right here. We're going to take that dial, click it on, and that can activate our furnace. We adjust right here according to what temperature we want. This is going to show our inside temperature right here. Have our Suburban water heater right here. Pretty easy to use. We kick it on and we set our temperature. That is going to be the output temperature of our tankless water heater system. And we also are going to have a recirculation pump on here. So that recirculation pump is going to provide us with more instantaneous hot water. If we don't have it on, then it's going to take a second for it to warm up, but it'll still give you endless hot water. Back over to the right, we have our Victron for our solar. This is to monitor that solar panel. It has an app on there, and Airstream does a good job going through it too, so I'm not going to double up. But the app is the way to go. Download that Victron Energy app and connect it to your phone, and it's a lot easier to monitor and do some stuff on there. Down below that, we have our battery voltage, our fresh tank, our gray tank, and our black tank monitoring for all that stuff. That gives you all of your levels in percentage. We talked about our fresh tank, pulling water from there to supply to our fixtures. Do that with our water pump switch right there. Now it's an on-demand switch. As long as you have it on and you turn on your faucets, then you're going to hear that water pump kick on and run. If you were certain that you have all of your fixtures off and you still hear that pump running, you want to investigate, because that means that either your fresh tank is empty or you have a leak on your system. Both cases can end up burning up that pump, so you want to kick it off and investigate from there. If you have that city water connection, no need to have that pump on, so just go ahead and kick it off. We have more storage over here to the side. And then of course we're going to have our bathroom to the right of that. We have our toilet and shower all in one, hot, cold for our shower. And of course I have our clothesline that can connect over here. We have our vent over to the side to be able to put it up, push our button, push up. We can kick our fan on with a little button right there, and we do have a 12-volt fuse right here for that fan. In the event it stops working, we go ahead and check that fuse. To close it, just go ahead and pull it down. For our toilet, get our shower head out the way here. For our toilet, it operates with a little valve there on the side. Now, we're only putting number 1 and number 2 when we're talking about sewage. That is liquids and solids, right? So for liquids, just hit that pedal, send it down the drain. If we're dealing with solids, we want to push that pedal down just a little bit, and we want water to come out of the top here. We'll kick our water pump switch on real quick. So by barely pushing that pedal down right there, we have water coming out, and we want to fill our bowl 1/2 to 3/4 of the way full for solids. That way when we flush it, we have enough water to help push those solids down the drain to our black tank. Now the thing about our toilet is we only want to put number 1, number 2 in there, as well as RV toilet paper so it degrades properly in our system, and chemicals so it'll help degrade whatever's in there. And of course help it keep smelling nice. To the right of our bathroom, we're going to have our microwave right there, as well as our 12-volt refrigerator. Lift our tab right there, open our fridge, and then we have our thermostat for our fridge, and then of course we have a freezer up top. Now, important thing about our fridge is whenever we are done with it or we are storing our unit, we want to defrost this, wipe it all down, reduce the risk for mold and mildew. We also want to get that water out so it doesn't leak out and damage any of our wood components around it, because manufacturers aren't going to participate in that kind of repair. Down below that, we're going to have more storage, and then we're going to have our 110 and 12-volt breaker panel right here. See all our 12-volt fuses, our 110 breakers, and everything is nicely labeled so we know what all that goes to. Now for that system, this is the first place we want to go to if we have something that's not operating. We want to come here and check these fuses and breakers and see if that's where the issue lies. We have our 12-volt converter in here as well that charges our batteries when we're plugged in. So you may hear a little fan running in here from time to time. That's just electronics staying cool. Over to the right, we have our little heaters for our fresh gray and black tanks right here in the extreme cold temperatures. Want to kick those on so that water and liquid and stuff in there doesn't freeze. To the right, we'll have our master battery disconnect. So that's a 12-volt disconnect we want to utilize when we are storing our unit unplugged. Want to turn that off. Any other time we are using our unit or we have it plugged in, want to make sure that master switch is on. That way our batteries are being utilized or charged. We do have a telescopic table here in the front. We go ahead and open those levers right there. That table can lift up. We move our cushions out of the way, or we can go ahead and put it down for more sleeping option in the front. That wraps up everything on our base camp.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.